The entire martial arts academy fell silent the moment the little boy hit the mat. His tiny body slid across the polished floor as tears filled his eyes, but he refused to cry. Instead, he looked toward the only person waiting quietly in the audience, his father. Across the room, the academy's celebrated black belt instructor folded his arms with a smug smile and loudly mocked the quiet single dad, convinced he was nothing more than an ordinary man who would walk away humiliated. Then the little boy wiped away his tears, looked at his father, and whispered through a trembling smile, "Try not to cry, Dad." Nobody in that room realized the calm father standing in the back had once survived some of the world's toughest military training as a Navy SEAL. Within minutes, the entire academy would discover that true strength isn't measured by belts, trophies, or applause, but by the quiet courage of a father protecting his child. Before this unforgettable story begins, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that real heroes don't always wear medals, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries. Your support helps us continue sharing emotional stories that remind the world that compassion is stronger than pride. It was a bright, clear spring morning, and sunlight reflected gently from the large windows of Harbor Ridge Martial Arts Academy. Parents filled the viewing area while children in crisp white uniforms laughed, stretched, and prepared for the annual demonstration day. Colorful banners decorated the walls, cameras flashed, and excitement filled the air. For most families, it was simply another weekend event. For one quiet father and his son, it would become the day that changed both their lives forever. 40-year-old Callan Rhodes rarely attracted attention. He dressed simply in a light blue button-up shirt, dark jeans, and comfortable brown shoes. His short dark hair showed hints of gray around the temples, and a faded scar rested just beneath his jawline. He carried himself with calm confidence, but those who met him often mistook his silence for weakness. They never imagined he had spent years serving in one of the world's most demanding special operations units before retiring after injuries ended his military career. Since losing his wife, Maris, to a sudden illness 6 years earlier, Callan had devoted every moment to raising their 9-year-old son, Orion. Father and son had become inseparable. Every morning began with breakfast together, every afternoon ended with homework around the kitchen table, and every evening finished with stories about courage, honesty, and kindness before bed. Callan never spoke about his military past. To Orion, his father wasn't a hero because of medals or missions. He was a hero because he never missed a school play. Never forgot a birthday. Never stopped believing in him. Orion had joined martial arts to gain confidence after being bullied at school. Though naturally kind-hearted, he often struggled against classmates who confused gentleness with weakness. Callan hoped martial arts would teach discipline rather than aggression. At first, everything seemed promising. Then the academy hired a new senior instructor named Victor Kane. Victor was 36 years old, physically impressive, and widely respected for winning regional martial arts competitions. His black belt and championship trophies covered the academy entrance. Parents admired him. Children feared disappointing him. Victor believed toughness created champions. Compassion, in his opinion, created excuses. Whenever Orion hesitated during sparring exercises, Victor criticized him publicly. Whenever Orion showed concern for an opponent, Victor mocked his softness. Callan noticed the changes immediately. His cheerful son became quieter. Training days no longer excited him. One afternoon Orion admitted he wasn't afraid of losing. He was afraid of disappointing everyone. Those words broke Callan's heart. Instead of confronting the instructor angrily, Callan encouraged Orion to continue. He reminded his son that confidence grows slowly and that true courage means continuing even when others misunderstand you. Demonstration day finally arrived. Families gathered beneath bright daylight streaming through the academy windows. Children performed forms, practiced balance drills, and demonstrated controlled sparring. Then Victor announced a final challenge. He selected Orion. The boy's opponent was older, larger, and considerably more experienced. The match quickly became one-sided. Although Orion followed every instruction carefully, he struggled against the stronger student. A sweeping technique sent him tumbling hard onto the mat. The audience gasped. Victor smirked. Instead of offering encouragement, he made a sarcastic remark suggesting that some children simply weren't built for strength. Parents looked away uncomfortably. Orion slowly pushed himself upright. His eyes searched the audience until they found his father. Callan smiled gently. No anger. No disappointment. Only pride. The little boy smiled back through watery eyes. Then came the words no one expected. Try not to cry, Dad. Some parents chuckled softly, assuming it was a child's innocent joke. But Callan understood. His son wasn't worried about himself. He was worried about his father feeling hurt. At that moment, Victor turned toward Callan and invited him onto the training floor, clearly expecting an embarrassed refusal. Instead, Callan quietly removed his watch, folded his sleeves neatly, and stepped onto the mat. The room became silent. His movements were calm, balanced, effortless. Victor demonstrated an advanced sequence meant to intimidate him. Callan observed respectfully. When invited to respond, he repeated every movement with remarkable precision. Then he performed several additional techniques so fluidly that experienced students stared in disbelief. No wasted motion. No unnecessary force. Only complete control. Victor's confident smile faded. Curious whispers spread through the audience. One of the academy's oldest instructors leaned toward another parent and quietly recognized several techniques rarely taught outside elite military close combat programs. Victor challenged Callan to a friendly demonstration. Callan accepted only after ensuring the children understood it was about respect rather than victory. The exchange lasted less than 30 seconds. Every aggressive movement Victor attempted was redirected without injury. Every attack ended harmlessly. Every response displayed restraint instead of dominance. Finally, Victor found himself gently but firmly pinned in a position from which he could not escape. There was no humiliation. No celebration. Only silence. Callan immediately released him and offered a respectful hand. Victor accepted it, breathing heavily. Someone in the audience quietly asked where Callan had learned such extraordinary control. He hesitated. Then admitted he had once served as a Navy SEAL before retiring to become a full-time father. The room erupted into stunned applause. Yet Callan seemed almost uncomfortable with the attention. He explained that military service had taught him something far more valuable than fighting. It taught him that strength exists to protect others, never to embarrass them. Those words settled deeply over the entire academy. Especially Victor. After the demonstration ended, several children gathered around Callan. Instead of teaching dramatic techniques, he showed them simple exercises focused on balance, breathing, patience, and helping training partners improve together. The children loved it. Even Victor watched quietly from across the room. The following Monday, Victor visited Callan at the small bicycle trail where he and Orion often spent afternoons together. For the first time, the proud instructor admitted something he had hidden for years. His own father believed kindness was weakness. Every childhood mistake had been met with criticism rather than encouragement. Without realizing it, Victor had repeated the same pattern with his own students. Callan listened without judgment. He knew pain often disguises itself as pride. Rather than criticizing Victor, he invited him to volunteer during the Academy's youth mentoring program. Week after week, Victor slowly changed. His commands became encouragement. His corrections became lessons. Children stopped fearing him. They started respecting him. Parents noticed the difference immediately. Months later, Harbor Ridge Martial Arts Academy held another public event beneath the same bright daytime sky. This time, Victor stood beside Callan before hundreds of families. Instead of announcing championship winners first, he invited Orion onto the stage. The little boy hadn't earned the highest rank. He hadn't won every competition. But he received something far more meaningful. The Academy's first Courage Through Kindness Award. As Orion accepted the certificate, he looked proudly toward his father. Callan smiled with quiet tears shining in his eyes. Not because his son had become the strongest student, but because he had remained the kindest. The audience rose together in heartfelt applause. Even those who had once admired only trophies now understood that the greatest victories cannot always be measured with medals. Sometimes they are measured by the people we choose to lift instead of defeat. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Dad's Soul Diaries so more people can discover stories that remind us what true courage really looks like. Special request, comment real strength protects if you believe kindness is the greatest form of courage. As families left the academy under the bright afternoon sky, children laughed across the parking lot while parents shared quiet conversations. Victor watched Orion walk beside his father, their hands full of training gear and hearts full of hope. In that peaceful moment, he realized that black belts, trophies, and titles eventually gather dust. But the example set by one quiet single dad who chose humility over pride, compassion over anger, and protection over power would remain in those children's hearts for the rest of their lives.